Следующим нашим спикером будет Владимир Ashurkov, соратник Навального и директор фонда борьбы с коррупцией.
Until February 24, 2022, few believed that a full-scale aggression of Russia against Ukraine was possible. However, the essence of Putin's regime, its disregard for people's voices, contempt for law and justice, absence of any moral limitations, would have inevitably led to a big tragedy. A year into the war, brutal military fighting is still taking place, with over 100,000 of people, both military and civilians, having been killed, and millions of Ukrainians becoming refugees in Europe. Russian army has been gradually losing the war. But even if the active phase of the war ends, the aggression will be repeated in some form, which is inevitable given the system of power that has developed in Russia. The solution to the problems of security in Europe and the whole world lies only in the collapse of Putin's regime and the beginning of political reforms in Russia. The main events that can lead to that are currently taking place on the battlefields of Ukraine. Every reasonable person now wishes success to the heroic Ukrainian army, which is fighting against unprovoked brutal aggression. It's difficult to live in a situation where you wish for the defeat of your own country's army, although only this can lead to the renewal and liberation from the Putin the madman and the corrupt system of power that he has created. To support true Russia today means to root against its army and the state. I have no doubt that the war has accelerated the inevitable political transition, and I think it will come in the next 2-3 years. We need to be ready for that. Recently, Alexei Navalny from his prison cell has briefly and precisely formulated a political platform for Russians. It really is based on common sense. I will repeat some of its main points. Russia needs to accept Ukraine's borders, which were internationally recognized and defined in 1991. We need to leave Ukraine alone and give it the opportunity to develop as its people wish. Stop the aggression and the war. Withdraw all Russian troops from Ukrainian territory. Investigate war crimes in cooperation with international institutions. Jointly with Ukraine and the Western countries, seek ways to compensate for the damage done to Ukraine. It's important to emphasize once again that after the war, we will have to compensate Ukraine for the damage caused by Putin's aggression. But restoring normal economic relations with the civilized world and returning to economic growth will allow us to do this without hindering the development of our country. We are at the bottom, and to go to the surface, we need to push off it. This will be morally right, rational, and beneficial for our country. And the last point from Navalny. We will inherit a huge number of complex and seemingly unsolvable problems from this war. It's important to determine for ourselves that we really need to solve them and then begin to do so honestly and openly. The key to success lies in understanding that it will not only be good, but also very beneficial for Russia and its people to end the war as soon as possible. Only then we can start towards lifting sanctions, ensuring safe return for those who left, and restoring economic growth. In Jewish tradition, Jews all over the world say to each other every year on the holiday of Passover, next year in Jerusalem. This symbol of faith helped Jewish people scattered all over the world for hundreds and thousands of years. In the last years of Putin's rule, over 1 million people left Russia, and since mobilization started in September, another several 100,000 have left the country. I do not have the exact forecast for when changes will come to Russia and people will be able to return home. I also understand that not everybody will return after this happens. But the fact that you're here means that you care about what's happening in our home country. And I want to end my speech by paraphrasing this symbolic slogan. Next year in Moscow. Thank you.
Next year in Moscow.